Yo, back again. This morning there was a special first take. It had a guest stars of Isaiah Thomas and Scottie Pippen, and I find it weird that a lot of people ain't talking about this. Now Isaiah Thomas was on there. They had a segment of "Is Giannis the best player in the NBA?" Right now, that started out talking about Giannis. Then it went left. It went to another different discussion. And I noticed the crowd was starting to boo and turn on Isaiah Thomas. Okay? Which brings me back to what I was saying several times ago when I talked about how some people have too much of an attachment to certain stars. Um, Now, if you notice, Isaiah Thomas has always been on record saying he doesn't believe Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. And rightfully so. Keep in mind, when you play in the sport of basketball, and if you playing against somebody that you constantly beat it, but you beat them more times than they beat you, you're gonna feel a little different about them being called the best because in your mind you figure you was somewhat better than that person because you kept beating them, right? So this is Isaiah Thomas's logic. Now you all know how I feel about Jordan and his place in history. You know that's unquestionable. You know, but one thing I can't sit here and lie and make up extra stuff about Jordan. I'm not going to say he averaged 50 points a game and he walked on water and he did this and that. He was a player with flaws too. Okay, but you already know where I got Jordan ranked. But this is not about that. This is about Isaiah Thomas. Because every time I go, everywhere I go, people keep saying Isaiah Thomas is a hater. Isaiah Thomas is a hater. But how is this guy a hater when he's telling you facts? But these facts are hurting you because you don't want to put them in your psyche or to break that down properly, right? Now, I made a video. I do constantly countdown to my greatest basketball players of all time, and I got Isaiah Thomas on there. All right, and I told you he beat it Jordan, Magic, and Bird all in 1 year, 1 season, and he beat it those guys more times than they beat him. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's better than those guys, but he has some right to talk about them and say that stick up for himself. Now, what I didn't like was how Max Kellerman, I believe, was capping for Jordan too hard. I mean, they were in Chicago, and he just was adding extra stuff that wasn't factual right. Okay? Now, Isaiah Thomas pretty much got a little pissed off. You could see he got in his defensive mode, right? And he was like, listen, you know, I was in the top 50, right? And on that list of top 50 greatest players of all time, there was no other Detroit Piston on that list other than him, all right? Which was true at the time, it still is because, he was the only guy considered a top 50 talent on the Detroit Pistons. None of those other guys was. They were good defensive players and, rough, rugged, and raw, things like that. But Pippen and Jordan both were there. Magic and Kareem both were there. Bird and Kevin McHale both were there. So several guys had other people that they played with on that top 50, except for Isaiah Thomas. So I constantly tell people, put some respect on Isaiah Thomas's name because I think people label this guy as a hater when he's just factually telling you the truth. All right? Now, Max Kellerman was sitting there saying, oh, he took you guys to 7 games and blah, blah, blah. Listen, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, they lost, okay? Like I keep telling you, you could get some credit for going to the finals, but you also have to get the discredit for losing those finals. It's as simple as that, It goes both ways. You can't have it both ways. At the end of the day, it comes down to wins and losses. And winning is the most important aspect of basketball. You can't keep making excuses, And he claims, oh, when they beat the Pistons in 91, they never looked back. They kept winning championships. Yes, this is correct. Max is right on that. But what you're missing is, with most teams that win championships, realistically, there is no stat to say that, hey, you're out of your prime. There's no clock to say, hey, I'm out of, your time is up. You're out of your prime. You could wake up in the morning and just, boom, that's it. It's over. Something cracks, something breaks, it's over. That's all it takes. You don't know when it's going to happen, but sooner or later, your body will give out on you. It's just a simple fact when you play sports. All right? And when you win the championship, that could be your very last time winning the championship. Pistons were the defending champions, yes. But in 91, they were pretty much done because they were a broken down, injured team. Okay? It's as simple as that. They were done. All right? It's the same way with the Lakers, with Kobe, and those Lakers. They won the championship in 09 and 10, right? And they're defending champs in the 2011 season, but they get smoked by the Dallas Mavericks in 4 games, a sweep. The same situation as Isaiah Thomas's Pistons. They were done at that point. There were no more championships that they were going to win, The thing is, when you don't preserve yourself and you go hard 24/7 to win a championship, you shortening your lifespan of basketball, all right? And this is what some guys like the Isaiah Thomas did, Kobe did, Jordan did. They just hit the wall running. Be like, hey, man, I'm going to go hard, full steam. I don't care how long, my career lasts. Longevity is not something that I'm looking at as my savior. I want to win as much as possible in the time that I'm playing, So, the Pistons, yes, they were done at that point when they lost in 91, right? But nevertheless, you got to give the Bulls credit because they won. It's as simple how that goes. But I truly believe Isaiah Thomas is speaking from the heart. He's trying to be the nicest he could be without you guys disrespecting him. He clearly said when we were beating Jordan, he was the best player on the floor. He was the best player in the league. But he still took those L's. Okay? You could be the best player in the league and your team could not be up to par and you could still end up losing. Okay? This is all what he was saying. He was saying that about Giannis because he thought Giannis was the best player in the league. And he was saying that, just because Giannis lost, his team lost, I mind you, that he was still considered the best player in basketball. And he made an example of his era to that. And then you had Max Kellerman capping, being an ass clown that he is, trying to disrespect, Isaiah Thomas. And Isaiah Thomas put him in his place without even knowing that he put him in his place. He told you on the video, listen, all I know is Detroit Pistons with Isaiah Thomas beat the Chicago Bulls. Okay, more times than they beat him. No, Bulls only beat the Pistons once. Jordan, yes, he was going out in the first round year after year. It is what it is. It still doesn't change his place in history, but it is what it is. It's a fact. Now, when Isaiah Thomas tells you these things, he's not hating. He's just speaking from the heart. He's just speaking from the top of the top of the dome, and just keeping it real that way. Now you got guys like Scottie Pippen who can't stand Isaiah Thomas. This guy has some big grudge against Isaiah Thomas. Listen, Scottie Pippen, you were never even on the same level as Jordan. You were never on the same level as as Isaiah Thomas. Both of those guys were better than you. Because you could never be a number one on a team. You never had what it takes to be a number one on a team and take your team and be a number one guy and take a team to the next level. It just wasn't in your DNA. You just wasn't that type of dude. Okay? Your scoring was half-ass at the most. Okay? You couldn't put your foot on somebody's neck and, take games over and stuff like that. Yeah, you were a good defensive player, but you weren't that dude. You weren't the number one guy on the team. So cut that out. You all right? So with that being said, put some respect on Isaiah Thomas' name, because I hate when to see it, legends get disrespected for speaking facts. All he's telling you is that he beat Jordan, which he did. Let the man live. Peace.